Now, I know that we were talking about some of the questions that we get about ostomies and living with an ostomy and what it's like to have one. And I know you've got a couple of really good ones. I've come across quite a few different ones, but maybe we can talk a bit about that and maybe try to answer those questions. Because
Yeah.
as funny as we find some of the questions, as oddball as we find some of the questions, a lot of them are relevant to that place and time. Right.
Yeah.
And I had some questions when I was before I even had my surgery, where I would look back at it now and think, man, that was a really silly question. But you know what? No, at the time it was very relevant, and I had fears of certain things. So, there's no question that's off limit, really. So.
Yeah. Well, one of the first ones that I got that, it's valid, but I was just kind of like, do I pee the same? And so, but then I learned, there are people who they may have multiple bags. If they were in a car wreck and got injured in certain parts of their body, they may have a urostomy and a ileostomy or something. So I just have the ileostomy, so I still pee the same. But when my body eliminates stool as waste, it goes in the bag.
So one of the questions that I had when I was doing the consultation with my surgeon prior to having surgery was, will I be able to go on walks with my wife? Because that was one of the things that I really enjoyed doing. And I was so sick that, that wasn't a thing anymore for me.
Yeah.
So that was one of the questions, will I be able to walk around the block, after I get this bag thing? I had no idea that it was not even close to being a concern in reality. That is just not even a concern at all. But that was something that I had to ask because I just didn't know. Am I going to be tethered to my home now because of this bag? Am I going to be able to drive because, isn't the seatbelt going to be coming across my abdomen and is it going to be in the way? So, these are questions that I had, but however silly they may have seemed back then, they were questions I wanted answers to. And,
exactly.
with experience, now I'm answering those questions for myself and laughing at them because I can do so much more than just go around, go for a walk around the block now. So,
I was kind of new to it, but I went to this amusement park with my friend and I was like, can I ride these rides? I was afraid, going so fast and having that restraint bar over me and everything. And I was like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can. So I was text messaging my friend who had an ostomy before. And I was like, am I allowed to go on, roller coasters and things like that? Because, I just had these horror thoughts of me being turned upside down and then the bag coming off and everything just going haywire. So, but I can ride roller coasters and go to amusement parks and, be tossed all around and it was fine. So it's kind of silly looking back on it now, but that first time with it, I was so concerned and kind of worried, but then it was fun and everything was fine. So.
Yeah, but it illustrates a point, right? What are you afraid of in your day-to-day that makes you concerned about having your ostomy when you could go on a multi-inversion roller coaster for the whole day and really not experience problems, right? If you're doing it right, you do have to have some planning sometimes, right? Depending on where you're going. But that kind of lends you to another question. Does it hurt? Does your stoma hurt?
Yeah.
And that's a very common question. I think anyone would make the assumption I see a piece of your intestine sticking out of your stomach. Doesn't that hurt? And the reality is no. The stoma itself has no nerve endings, right? So it shouldn't hurt. Now, some people who are fresh out of surgery, you'll most likely be sore for about a month, sometimes longer than that, depending on how involved that surgery was. But for the most part, when your stoma is actually functioning, you don't tend to feel it. There's no pain. There's nothing like that. So there's really not much to feel there. One funny question that I got, and I probably would have thought of it at some point too, was, when you have your colon removed, do you feel kind of empty inside? Is there a lot of space now in there? And you know what? You don't notice it. Unfortunately, you don't notice it. Now, there is one thing I did notice. The feeling of having butterflies in my stomach I haven't had that since my surgery. So
Oh,
I have a
wow, I
feeling that
didn't
that
know
was
this.
I have a feeling that that was connected more to the
Yeah.
colon, you know what I mean? Colon rather than stomach.
Will I live life forever without a colon? A lot of people, they either think I'm getting my colon back, or they think that there is a synthetic type device or new colon that I'm going
Huh.
to get. Um, and I think I even asked my surgeon questions about that, the day before. This was a really fast thing for me, but I don't think I even really realized that, once they remove your large intestines, you live without it forever. I am eligible for the reversal surgery, but they would just connect my small intestines to my rectum. I guess you don't really think about it unless you have issues with your colon or have part of your colon taken out or something with surgery. But that's something that's been surprising to a lot of my friends and people that I've come in contact with.
But you know what? We can function without one. It doesn't really serve that big of a purpose anyway. And, life is fun without it. So.
Right. Better off without it anyway. No colon still rolling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, the colon that I had definitely wasn't worth keeping. That's for sure.
Nope.